We welcome you for the second day technical sessions of the SAFA-CMA Management Accounting Summit 2012. The theme of our conference is Sustainability and Corporate Responsibility. To start with the session number 5, our topic is the global economic stability and fiscal sustainability. Our session chairman is Sri M. Gopalakrishnan. Sri M. Gopalakrishnan has been elected as the president of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India for the year 2011 and 12. He is practicing cost accountant since 1983 and is the senior partner in S. Mahadevan and Company Cost Accountants. His core area of practice have been actively based costing, balanced scorecard, performance management solutions, and business intelligence for the manufacturing and service sectors. He is also an advisor to several listed companies. Now, I would like to invite Sri M. Gopalakrishnan to address.
Good morning. It is indeed my pleasure to chair this important session on global economic stability and fiscal sustainability. And Professor Lakshman Vatawala has organized a wonderful plethora of expert speakers right from yesterday morning. I sat glued in my seat, listening to the experts who are going to be the thought leaders in the new economic environment which is going to emerge, which is going to rather go beyond the financial. It may be non-financial or extra-financial. See here in this session we have another three important giants, starting with Ms. Rita O'Sullivan, Country Director ADB, followed by Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy and Mr. Muhammad Hanif Azhari. Friends, whatever we talk about sustainability and corporate responsibility, first it has to get embedded within the corporate and the business reporting. And also, it should also have a very important say on the lifeblood of any business enterprise. And that lifeblood is money. And being Ms. Rita O'Sullivan, being the country director of the Asian Development Bank, all of you know that World Bank and Asian Development Banks are development financial institutions even within the country. They hold the reins of economic power within the country. Any embedding of the sustainability and business responsibility practices, if they are given a weightage both in the lending as well as in the cost of lending, it will make a very, very important impact. And I am sure the takeaway from this session will lead to this direction. I will introduce the first speaker. She is the keynote. She will be giving the keynote address on the global economic sustainability. Ms. Rita O'Sullivan is the ADB's country director, oversees in ADB's public and private sector operations in Sri Lanka. She has got both the legal and the financial sector background and has been very closely involved with the implementation of financial sector reforms and enhancing policies and strategies. I think we could hear quite a lot of thought leadership or thought initiatives which can emerge in this session, which will be a key takeaway for this conference. At the end of the session, I will be introducing the other speakers as and when the session starts. And any questions what you have, you please write it down in the slip of paper which has been provided to you by the organizers and send it to me, which will be answered by the respective panelists at the end of the session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished members of the executive, other distinguished guests, and you, the fellow students of financial matters. It's great to be here. It's a topic that is very, not only close to my business, but close to my heart, because it does impact our everyday operations. But I fear you're here under a misunderstanding, because there is no financial stability at the moment on the global stage. And so really what we need to look at is the instability that's going on. And I'd like to just run through a look at the major economies, what's happening in the Eurozone, how that's now impacting into Asia, and what are the policy measures that we can look at to mitigate the contagion. Major economies, my apologies if I'm looking at the growth in the majors. US, there we go, we've got a little red light here somewhere. Oh, it's a very little red light. Why is that not working? Do we have another one with a bit broader light? Sorry, it's just a bit light. But anyway, just to see, there we go. These pen lights are good, thank you. It is working, I just can't see where the red light is. It is working, but it's not very bright. Can you see that? I can't see the red light. Yes, so we'll go to this one. US, obviously a major partner, going from 2010 of a 3% growth, GDP growth, staggering in 2011, slightly coming up. Eurozone projections for this year, negative, minus 0.5, and Japan, again, last year, minus 0.7 with the big tsunami issues, but slowly coming up. So what's happening with our tiger economies, the two major ones, India and China, but as we know, in India, recent numbers coming out, this is our Asian Development Bank, our outlook, which was done at the end of the year, was looking for a projection of around 7% in India, but that's coming down, and up to a 7.5%. But the last couple of weeks, we've seen numbers like 5.3% because of the trade problems, because of internal infrastructure problems. So these numbers are very fluid on the projections. For China, we have also downgraded our projections. We are now looking at 6.7% this year and 7.3%. So, significant downgrades, and there's other rating agencies and other institutions that are even projecting lower. Sri Lanka, to give you some numbers, and again, appreciate that they are fluid and people will have different numbers, but we're expecting 7% this year and 8% next year. So, our Euro crisis. What went wrong and what's all the fuss about for us sitting here in Sri Lanka in Asia? We saw in 2007 and 8 was the subprime mortgage crisis, which was the disaster that had to happen. The whole operation, but anyway, that is long gone, but it started the impact of all of this. 2009-10, we saw a major deterioration of fiscal positions. We saw bond yields really drop, and the peripheral economies, the smaller economies, either looking very illiquid or even insolvent. Then 2010-11, we've seen major write-offs and write-downs by the banks on those peripheral bond holdings. We saw the need for major recapitalization, not just in the banks, but across the whole sector. Again, some graphs, and I do appreciate this is very small writing, but it's more just to get the feel, because graphs are 1,000 words, as we all know. Economists love them, and there's a reason. So with this one, This is in the euro area, and surprise, surprise, Greece. This is Greece in 2010. Its fiscal deficit, absolutely huge, and that's what has caused the major problems. Looking over here, this is Greece here, over almost 200%, 190% of its GDP is debt. Completely unsustainable, as we know. Just some of the others. Germany, here the first one, is running around about 80% in 2012. And Italy, 1, 2, 3, 4, this one here is running about 120% debt to GDP. So you can, this shows us why we have this major problem in the Eurozone without anything further. To just run some more numbers, and again, economists do love our numbers, albeit as a trend. You accountants love your hard numbers. Economists looking more at trends and what's going on. And again, no surprise, the bond yields for Greece has had to really kick up. The only way they can get money is to provide higher yields. And the second one here that's very high is France, which, as we know, is struggling to hold its rating. So France is seen to have major structural issues as well. So again, you can just sort of see what's going on. This is the case of falling angels, but just to put that in this way, and again, no surprise, it's Greece, the one over on the far side. So, what policy measures can they take to address this, and why are we seeing this huge social disruption in these countries? We're seeing the rioting on the streets. We're seeing major disturbances on the television. Why is that? Well, with a sovereign debt crisis, what you have to do is introduce very strong fiscal austerity. And it's a name that any public servant, like myself, an international public servant, fiscal austerity is not where you want a country to go, because we know that by shutting everything down, where can there be any growth? Where can there be confidence? So you have to cut back your public service. That's the soft belly for a government. You have got to perhaps extend the retirement age, which we've seen in a number of jurisdictions. The pension funds are unfunded or underfunded in many jurisdictions. And we know the issues that have been here in Sri Lanka, concerns about the use of pension funds. Taxation, you have to increase, but you're increasing at a time when salaries are being cut. If they're frozen, that's fine, but most of the time they're being cut. So to increase taxes, you're just getting squeezed on both sides. You reduce health and education. Again, soft sectors. Kids don't really have a voice. I mean, parents have a voice, but sort of education, health, you don't sort of see it so easily. But we see in Sri Lanka, there are pockets of excellence, absolutely fabulous education facilities, and your presence and your certification shows that you're up with the world on your qualifications, on your abilities. But look how many schools, look at the dropouts, look at the positions they don't have to go on to higher education or alternate technical and vocational training. Big problems that governments have, and it's an area that it's only after a period you start to see the impact. So, all of these, and the other issue particularly that's concern for in other development is you freeze the non-essential domestically financed capital expenditure. Now, once you start limiting your capital expenditure, which is generally one of the drivers of change and drivers of development, you've got problems. Okay, so you all, on both ends, you're causing problems. But it's a very reactionary approach at this stage because of those numbers we saw in the graph. On the banking side, this is impact then on the banking side. We've seen people can't repay their loans, they're being forced out of their homes, we've got closures, forced mergers of banks, and major recapitalisation. 90% of the IMF pool of funds is being directed to the Eurozone. 90%. What is left? Luckily, Sri Lanka is going out of its IMF program, or they're looking at what needs to be done. They're looking at what needs to be done because there's no immediate need. There's no great need in Sri Lanka. But lucky, because the IMF coffers are being directed into the Eurozone. The outlook going forward, I'm just going to make sure I got my right, yes, our outlook. Outlook is, as I say, this is not a fiscal sustainability presentation, this is instability. We've got a spiralling contagion effect within Eurozone. Every morning I'm getting Bloomberg, I'm just watching Bloomberg these days. I mean, where I forget about BBC and sort of news, I'm